what is it? So like I said, it's Droid plus Ruby, so it's a mobile kind of thing. But still Ruby and still web. So this is an open source Android app that serves as a client. So it's like a browser, but it doesn't parse HTML. It parses a special like special tags because it's intended really for Android's UI. It also allows for client-side interaction like JavaScript, but instead of JavaScript, it uses Ruby. So actually, it uses JRuby inside the app. Okay, so here is the GitHub link if you want to take a look. All right. So why did I do this? There comes a point in time where you have a website and you want to build a native app, but unfortunately starting to do that is not easy. So, you have to build new UX. You have to learn a new language, new frameworks. You have to learn Objective-C, Java. So, and then also in the backend, you have to develop APIs like in order to communicate with your website's data. And the languages used are not Ruby. Okay, so what about HTML5 JavaScript? So we're hearing like lots of sites they concentrate on making their like building mobile sites based on HTML5 and JavaScript, but there are disadvantages as well. So it's not as fluid and responsive as native apps. So we've heard Facebook, they've recently moved to building a totally native UI. I don't know if it's totally native, maybe more native than what they're doing. Also, it can't use all of the features of your device like accelerometer. I think HTML5 is catching up, but I mean, if you want to support the latest features and the latest capabilities of your device, it's not possible now. Well, at least it's cross-platform because my pet project only runs on Android 4 Plus for now. Okay. I'm planning an iOS 1, but I'm waiting for the Ruby version for iOS to be complete. I think Mats is trying to work on it, so I'm still looking at it. And I don't know if it complies with Apple's policies. So it might not happen. Okay, so advantages of Ruby. So faster development cycle. You can code and then hit refresh. So unlike if you go with the Java SDK, you have to compile and then you have to run it in the emulator. So it's much faster. So here, if you already have a mobile site, you only need to redesign the layout, and instead of JavaScript, use the Ruby script. Okay, so you can use your controllers, models, even authentication. You can use device. Ruby does the cookie stuff and session management stuff, so it works. It will work with that. So it's also useful if you want to prototype your app first, before you really dive into full native development. Because since it uses the native widgets, you can really mimic what it would really look like. So here it's possible to develop on Android without an SDK. Okay, so it uses Ruby and then it has full access to the native API if you need it. So JRuby can access, it can instantiate any Java class. It can call its methods. So I mean, there's no limitation. Disadvantage, still alpha, like it's only 1 month. Okay, so the docs still needs to be added. Not all Android views are wrapped yet. So in the Ruby, when you're writing the Ruby scripts for this, you have I wrapped most of the UIs in Ruby, so you don't have to call the Java classes directly. Also, I added some more additional stuff like like better animation, some like things that programmers usually do. Okay. And right now it's a little slow. I mean, well, at least the loading part. I'm still trying to figure out if Droiuby still is a lot slower than like going native. I'm using the interpreted version, so it's not the cheap version, since Droiuby doesn't support the Dalvik TM yet. All right, so demo. Okay, so I'm not gonna write a new Rails. So what I intended to do was to write a Rails app that uses Droiuby as its front end. But I'm not gonna do it from scratch. I'm just gonna show you what it looks like. Which I already have done. Are you guys able to read the text?
Faces. J faces.
Okay, so this is a standard Rails app. Okay, so you've seen the URL I type. It's localhost. Well, it's essentially localhost and then /Droiuby. So what that does is it loads a special XML here. Well, I'm using Hamel, so it's not obvious. So it's a special XML. What it does, it informs Droiuby about your app. So here, it says that the main layout is at home index path. The layout is more, the main layout is like the HTML stuff. Alright, so right now, since I'm not logged in, it's showing the login screen. So if you can see, I have .Droiuby handles here. So it detects if, so I've configured the Rails app so that if the Droiuby user agent is detected, it will use the Droiuby format. So that's what it does. So right now it's in login. So I've, you can guess that I've also modified the sessions view template.
So is that login screen, is that an HTML screen or a Droiuby screen?
It's a Droiuby screen.
Okay. So those are native app components that...
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So this one. Alright, so this is what the Droiuby markup looks like. So it's Hamel, but I mean, it parses XML anyway. So you can see here that I have a controller here. So this is how you define a Ruby script that gets run in the front end. So here are the standard Android markup. So you can visit Android developers and then you can somewhat see what they correspond. So here this is a scroll view, some images. See. So what does the session.rb look like? So we can go to assets, Ruby, so I place it here. So there's a on create, and then you can see that it looks like jQuery. So I'm binding to the click event so that if the login form button is clicked, it will go to whatever is specified in data URL. So you can see that the data URL I've placed it under session path. So you can see the advantage here is that you can use the existing Rails URL mechanism. So there's a lot of stuff that you can reuse, like helpers, you can reuse them. Like even here, the authenticity token, you can use it. So the advantage of a browser is that you have a console. So we also have that here. Let me just find and do some emulator stuff.
So you can run your app in a browser also?
If you want to access its console.
Oh, you're piping it.
Yeah. It's an emulator, but if you have a real device, you can access it directly by its IP. It's an emulator because that's why you have to do that. So it says that the console is running at port 4000. So if I go to port 4000, okay, I see the Droiuby console. So using this, I can so V is like the jQuery stuff that I do. So you can so here I'm just dumping what the layout looks like. So basically, the Ruby client I have there has like standard library. So I've also included active support. Actually, that's basically the only thing I've included. The other stuff is too heavy and doesn't really make much sense. So as you can see, I can access any element here. So there. As you can see, there's a wrapper around the native object. So I can do stuff with it like. So I'm animating it to like blink. Actually, I can just do this. So it blinks.
There.
There's also I also wrap the Android animation framework around, so you can do stuff like this. If you're doing Java, it's so painful to do this stuff. You have to declare classes, listeners, and all those stuff. Here it is simple. Actually, Ruby makes it a joke to do some of this stuff. So here I'm gonna animate the alpha channel to go from 0 to 1, which is also like blinking. There, so it's something like that. And there's other stuff like rotate. As you can see, it's fast. So it's like going at native speed. So I don't know if HTML JavaScript can do that. So I'm gonna go to 0 to 1. one, you can see what it looks like.
4.1.
It doesn't. Please, maybe scale. Scale crapped out.
Uh-oh.
Anyway, so you can just hit refresh. There. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I've wrapped, and there's more that I can show, but I mean, I'll just work on the docs instead of going through each of them. So, if you're curious, for example, you want to extend Droiuby, you can download the source code, and then if you check out, if you're not afraid to look at Java, you can take a look. So I have Droiuby wrappers here. You can see how I did it. So I have a view wrapper. So I've got all of this. All of this stuff that wrap to the Java native call. So if you want to extend it, you want to add your own stuff, you can download the source code and modify this file. Alright, so and another thing that so this is the client. So another thing that I'm working on is the Droiuby website. So the goal of the Droiuby website is that you don't need to have, don't even need to have Rails. You just need to visit the website, and then you can place your markup there, your Ruby script there, and then just point the Droiuby client to the website, and then you can easily prototype your app, do some stuff with it. So I can't show it now because the internet of this PC has some issues. Actually, I have a local version, but it's not that good. So then I'm just gonna try to log in. See, so it does session stuff. You can log in. There are buttons here.
Normal native Android development, is there something like a layout file?
Yes.
Like an XML file?
Yes, that's
that
correct.
You can find those things?
In theory, you can create a hybrid app. Like Droiuby can access your native layouts, but I haven't tried that yet. So this is what it looks like. I mean, you can mix and match depending. Like if you have a page that changes frequently, and you have pages in your native app that don't, you can probably use Droiuby format to the pages that change frequently, and then use the native layout for those that don't. So at least it's flexible enough for you to pick the method that you want to use.
Your V method, is that like the whole, is it accessing the whole DOM, if you will, the whole,
something
whole
like
view,
that,
or just that file?
When you type V, you access the top node. So that's how you can traverse the tree. You can also I also support classes. So like here in the class here. So IDs, there can only be one. Actually, if you define more than one, if you try to access it, you'll only access the first. But if you put class, you can have many. So it actually just turns it into an array. So it's wrapped in an array that also wraps it in the Ruby wrapper for you. If you think that the wrapper is not enough, you can always access the native object. So you can see that it's using the Java Android widget context. So Okay, so that's it. That's my demo.
Can you use that in previous versions of Android?
Right now it's only for 4, but I'm working to get it on 2. I mean, there are some features in 2 that you can't do, like those fancy animation stuff. But in terms of like the protocol, the style, yes, it's possible to port it. I'm just using 4 because it's my firm belief that you have to move forward. So, but anyone can download it and then try compiling it against 2.3 or 3, and it should be fine.
Do you have a doc or something that we can use to start contributing to this?
Oh, I've already started on the wiki. So if you visit my GitHub, I'm already populating the stuff there. There are instructions on how to get started on a Rails project on it.
Can you
Actually,
show the link?
It's not only Rails. You can use any web server. If you just.
Can you show the link again to your GitHub account for GitHub?
It's better that
The GitHub page.
Here, github.com, Droiuby.
Is that JED-LD or JED-ID?
JED-LD.
Question. When do you plan to release this for production level apps?
My greatest concern is just the performance of loading, because I had to hack JRuby to make it smaller. Like I had to take out some C binding and Java binding stuff. But it's still quite big.
But that's because it's a runtime environment, right? Not
Yeah.
really. What if you move it to a direction where it's a compiler actually?
Yeah, you can do code generation. You can turn a code generator on that.
Yeah.
it can be compiled.
Actually, there is a branch underway under JRuby called the Dalvik VM branch, which I believe they are working on creating an Android, a real Android compatible version. So if that works, I can just plug it in and it just does it.
Worst case, you could write a code generator that would take this and spit out the required stuff to build your native app.
Yeah, actually there is a project that does that minus the web and integration. It's called iRoboto. If you take a look, but it's like completely, you just develop the whole thing.
For the iPhones or for like
Ruby
for
Motion.
iOS.
But that's HTML5.
There's a paid project like this. There's a paid framework.
But it only supports HTML5 apps.
What's the name of that?
I can't
It's
forget.
damn hard to recollect.
Ruby Motion.
Yeah, Ruby Motion.
Ruby Motion, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, most of it.
the one who was operated now.
Yeah.
Although I doubt you can do the refresh, refresh
No,
thing.
they compile it basically. They compile it.
You had
change it
to.
object code and then.
Well, maybe you can do this and then like there's a post.
You should definitely run some benchmarks against it.
Well, I've done initial benchmarks and it's not, I mean, depending on what you're doing. Like it takes 2 milliseconds for a Ruby segment to complete. But it's just like some simple listeners and handlers. So, I mean, until this project really gets large scale, that's the only time I can really.
What inspired you to make this?
Because I'm also doing Android development, and it is a pain to do it. I mean, like updating those. Like we try to update views, you have to add listeners. Just like clicking a button, you have to add listeners. You have to, handle this. I mean, it's mostly a Java thing that's making it frustrating. Like if we're doing Rails and then you start moving to like Java, like it's, something's not right. So.
Is it like the? Sorry, go ahead.
Yes.
Is it like the structure of Rails that motivated you, or is it like? Because
But it's
mostly
more on Ruby.
what I was seeing is you were having a lot of fun doing the blog stuff. So it's like
Yeah.
functions and callbacks.
Yeah, because in Java you can't really do that in a nice way. Yeah.
You have to make an anonymous inner class.
You have to do all of this
all that
typing,
stuff, yeah.
like try catch, all the implements. Like, I mean, if I do a comparison, like once this project gets really complete, I can like do a Java to Ruby comparison. Believe me, Java's gonna look like a joke.
Oh yeah, I did something similar with Flex.
Sweet.
Years ago, I made a Flex code generator with Ruby, and it just Ruby was so much better.
Yeah. I mean, I want to bring Ruby's productivity to mobile because I think it's something that's hindering like mobile apps from really getting to the next level. So, and also like mobile sites, like they're usually like.
I think what you should do is like put together a doc, put it up on the wiki. I think like I'm pretty interested in this. I'd love to contribute to this on the weekend. So.
Yeah.
I can put it up in Kickstarter.
Well, yeah, I just need to, type. But I already have something started. I just started this like beginning of the month. Yeah, and I'm also trying to like another project, a side project related to this is since there's a console, I'm trying to make it like a Selenium type tester because you can connect directly to the console to click stuff and all of those. Like so you can run RSpec that actually test a mobile UI. So. It's going to be pretty interesting.
Also question, do you think it's a requirement for any Ruby developer to learn the Apple Android platform? Because it seems like you still have to learn all these.
It's useful if you want to extend the current Ruby framework. Like you're looking at this this Android widget is lacking this attribute. Like for example,
the beauty behind Ruby on Rails is because they abstract every concept of say HTML or at least the way everything should be laid out on HTML. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to like gun for the culture that Ruby on Rails has, I think it's a good selling point that you say to them that you don't have to learn about anything Android like these buttons or these widgets, and you just think of this as a a normal Ruby on Rails application.
Yeah, well, ideally, but
yeah. That's why you have to put it up in quick
Android runtime, so it's always an advantage to know what you're working with. Since it's like I said, the markup there is like direct. It maps directly to an Android object. So
Kickstarter.
I mean, maybe the next thing to do this is to create a real project that's based on Ruby and see how it goes.
Buddy, what's the Twitter handle?
Jet LB, same as my GitHub. All right. Any more questions?
Pretty awesome.